Hello everyone, how are you guys all doing today? My name is Mirko and welcome back to another brand new Apex Legends video. So in today's video I'm going to be showing you guys how to predict enemy rotation, and the reason why doing this is really good is because number one, the enemies are basically forced to rotate, and if you're already in the ring you can pick off some easy kills. And number two, this is a really good tip if you're playing competitive, especially if you're playing the new ranked game mode. Now as always, if you go ahead and enjoy today's video, be sure you're dropping a big like down below, and if you're new to the channel, you're currently not subscribed, be sure you're doing that as well so you don't miss out on any future Apex videos. So understanding the ring and rotation has come to my knowledge more often now on playing ranked mode, and the higher rank you are, the more important rotation and understanding the ring is. So there are a few things you need to understand before you can actually start predicting enemy rotations and actually do this in a very successful way. So the first thing is understanding the position that the ring is placed. You want to make sure that the ring is placed in an area which forces players to come out of high populated areas, meaning the cutoff point between the ring and the storm needs to be on the edge of a high populated area such as Skull Town. Now more importantly, if you do hit enemy shots, it's much more better to actually wait in the ring and let them force themselves into the ring rather than going to fight them early on. Now for some people this will be really hard to understand, and it's actually really hard explaining it, so let's go through a few examples with you guys. So for example, if we take a look at this ring on the map, I've actually placed this ring myself. This ring does happen every now and then. It doesn't happen in this exact position, but it's roughly around this area. So for example, if we take a look at Market, now as you guys can see, now the next thing you need to pay attention to are the mountains. So if we zoom in a little bit on this here, someone coming from Market has absolutely no choice but to go through this route here. If they don't go through this route and they take a longer route going around the outskirts, they might not even make it alive. So they have to go through in this sort of rotation. Now if you do hear shots coming from the same area as Market, you know they're more than likely going to be going through that route, and it's actually really easy to predict where the enemies are coming from in this example. But let's go into a video example where I'll show you guys how easy this method really is. So as you guys can see, with a quick glance to have a look at where the ring is positioned, I can see it ends about a quarter of the way into Bunker, and I know how much of a popular route Bunker is. Bunker is a really nice route to get from one place of the map to the other. Now to the right side of Bunker, I also knew that it was a very high populated area. I still don't know why this area doesn't have a name, but it's one of the most popular areas in the map, and I know that there would have been at least a team there, and I guess there was about a 90% chance that team were going to rotate their way into Bunker, because they did have the option to go around the right side, but as you guys can see there was that massive mountain in the way, and just because of common sense it is much more faster and easier to go through to Bunker. And as you guys can see, I was adjusting my camera just as an enemy walked into Bunker, so that was really bad timing, and I had to really just snap on again and focus on the game. Now I'm really glad I actually double checked, because if not the enemies would have come up behind me and they would have had some easy shots on us. So not only is this a good way to actually kill enemies, this is also a good way to protect yourself, to make sure enemies aren't coming up from behind you. Now before I do end the video, I want to go through a few examples of you yet again. So we're going to have a look at a few other ring examples, and I just want to go through them with you guys, because some rings aren't going to be beneficial at all, but when you do get them rings that are beneficial and they're placed in the right spots, you guys can really abuse this. So let's have a look at this ring example here. So as you guys can see, this ring covers Market, the Cage, Hydro Dam and Repulsor, or half of Repulsor. But if someone's shooting in Skull Town, you know there's a gunfight going on in Skull Town. This is the routes that they're likely going to take. They're likely going to take two routes, and as you can see the two green routes. They're not going to take the four red routes that I've marked. That's going to take longer than usual, and as you guys can see the mountains are covering the other sections. You always want to make sure you're understanding and you're aware of your surroundings, aware of where the mountains are positioned. If you're unaware, you could always check with your map. But it's good to have an idea roughly on how the enemies are going to rotate their way towards a ring, and more often than not they're going to definitely take the quickest route. Now let's take a look at the last example I have got for you guys. Now I can't explain how many times this ring has happened to me. It's a very frequent ring towards that late stage of the game, and if you do hear shots coming from both these directions where the speakers are, more often enough they're going to be rotating this way because that's the most obvious route. And the mountains, I'll keep speaking about the mountains. The mountains are a big sign on what the enemies have in regards to choice of rotation, and they always give out the clues on where enemies are going to be rotating. That's why it's always good to wait around, especially if you've heard shots go off behind you and you've rotated yourself into the ring. It's always good to wait patiently about a minute or two, because that wait might be worthwhile in the end. And obviously not every ring is going to be beneficial for this sort of tip, but honestly guys, there will be about 1 or 2 rings during every game that will be really beneficial towards you. You're going to hear gunshots go off, and you're definitely going to want to wait around for enemies to rotate their way into the ring. The more knowledge you have of rotation, the more you play the game, the more you're going to actually adjust to this, and you'll naturally start looking at where the ring's positioned. You're going to have communication with your teammates, and you're going to be telling them to actually wait around. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this video up here. I hope the next time you guys play Apex Legends, you're going to look at the ring from a different perspective after watching this video. That's my goal anyway, making this video to help you guys out and to hopefully help you predict where enemies are coming from. Don't get me wrong, some games it might not help at all, but this is definitely a tip if you want to be a competitive player, and will give you that edge over other players. So anyway, thank you all for watching this Apex Legends video. As always, if you guys enjoyed, be sure you're dropping a like, be sure you're subscribing, all of that good stuff, and I'll catch all of you guys out in another brand new Apex Legends video.